Hello. I'm glad that you could join me. And I once say to myself that if I hit 1,000 subscribers, then I should be able to record anywhere because I can confidently say that, I'm speaking to someone somewhere. All right. So today I'm out here and, the neighbors could be listening, but I'm just daring myself to be able to speak despite, whatever is around. And my topic today is about gatekeepers. I'm going to try to make this brief, probably less than 10 minutes. So a gatekeeper is simply anything or any influence or force or person or thing that stands in your way of progress. If you look in different areas of your life, you'll find many forms of gatekeeping manifesting, but my main focus here is about how spiritual gatekeepers manifest at different levels in our lives, because I assume that the majority of the audience I'm speaking to are people who are on their spiritual path. It's very important to understand how gatekeepers are going to manifest in your path and try to deter you from making that progress or spiritual growth that you aim to achieve. So once you've developed your spiritual side, you'll start understanding or feeling that the biggest enemies that you're fighting are not the physical enemies, but rather the unseen enemies. You'll sometimes feel like some invisible forces are trying to shape your surrounding. And also you'll start knowing that there's no such thing as coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. And even the way you perceive things is going to be a more spiritual language. For example, someone gives you something and just the attitude or the way they present it to you, you can feel that their energy is going to make or spoil something for you. And so you don't want to take it because there's a spiritual red flag about accepting this thing. The higher you ascend spiritually, the stronger your enemies are going to be. Gatekeepers are guardians of the treasures of the heavenly realm. If I were to use a simple spiritual definition, their intention is to ensure that whoever is accessing these realms is someone who is worthy and not just any other person, because all of us are called to the party, but only those who are able to do the work and prove their worth can access the higher wisdom that transcends the physical or material world. On a positive note, the gatekeepers help us to learn. They help us to develop positive attributes and virtues and discipline that is going to be very useful in our spiritual journey, and also in safeguarding the form of higher wisdom that we are going to access once we have ascended. And let me emphasize that gatekeepers can be both positive or negative and can take the form of humans, they can take the form of angels and spirits, and sometimes even the rules and beliefs that govern us can be forms of gatekeeping, in that they appear to make sense, but deep inside there is something that you're going to accept, but it's going to be detrimental to your spiritual progress. We see sometimes just the way the government and the media and even the online social media, some ideology is spread as good for the society, but beneath all that you find that there is something that if you take and believe it as true, then it's permanently for the rest of your life going to make you stagnate spiritually and do not find your divine nature. So let me get into the different tiers of spiritual gatekeepers. The first tier are gatekeepers of the physical world. You'll find that if you want to change for the good and make progress, you are going to have to battle with some forces standing in your way. When you're making this transformation, the gatekeepers are going to create a lot of conflict in your life, either at work or with family, and sometimes they pump in a sense of fear and shame and guilt, or even you experience a lot of violence when you are taking the necessary steps to clean up your life. And isolation also becomes another tool. People fear isolation a lot. So these are tools that gatekeepers are going to use to put you down and try to stop you from making that big change that you want to make about your life. So that is more like it on the first tier of gatekeepers, in that they just manifest at this lower level of the basic things that you are struggling with, and just keeping you at that lower level so that you don't make any advancement spiritually. So once you have refined your physical aspects and generally you have acquired some of the positive attributes and disciplines, then now you start experiencing gatekeepers of the second tier level, and this mostly will tend to affect you at the subconscious and metaconscious level. And while they're doing that, the symptoms will manifest physically around you, and so you just know that whatever is happening is not just a mere coincidence around you, but instead you understand that some influences around you are trying to create confusion, using just the physical things in your environment. And so at this level you might experience things that makes you question your sanity a lot. For example, now you experience scary things and sleep paralysis. And this is simply because your consciousness is expanding and you are now crossing from the physical level to the higher dimensions. And even in your physical environment, you might start being perceptive to movements and maybe sounds and wind, moving around. And a lot of this stuff can spook you. Or sometimes, for example, you want to do a form of spiritual discipline. For example, whenever you want to pray, then it seems that things out of nowhere just come to try and prevent you from doing this spiritual discipline. And even with some of the old habits that you left, for example, if you are a dishonest person, this is the time when you start experiencing a lot of temptations to be dishonest, because it's more like the devil, starts giving you the good deals that you wanted at that time when you were dishonest, right? And so you start experiencing a temptation to do the exact same thing that you proclaim to have left behind. Many opportunities to try and violate your spirit will try to come up. Also, you might note that your physical behavior change. You might start becoming, a very neurotic person in behavior. For example, you talk too much, but this is more temporary because of the shift that is happening inside you. And so at each stage of your spiritual ascension, you'll also observe that your physical behavior changes. And now at the third tier of spiritual gatekeepers, you are going to experience more non-physical encounters, because like I've said, it's now your spiritual side that is opening up, and you've mostly transcended what is of the flesh. So the forms of temptation that you encounter are interdimensional. You're going to encounter more and more monsters and demons, trying to shake you off your groove. But like I've often said, their tool is fear, but they can do you nothing. Remember, your ultimate task here is to persevere, learn, and apply the virtues and the disciplines that you've learned to help you transcend these levels. Once you have transcended and crossed these barriers, then these are going to be things of the past, and so you won't have to worry about them. Yeah, so after all that is said, now let me talk about the positive gatekeepers. Positive gatekeepers at the higher dimensions can be spirits that point you to the right direction of knowledge to help you counter this negative gatekeeping that you're experiencing. Remember, it's a polarity of positive and negatives, fighting to influence you. And mostly we tend to listen to the negative influences more while on this phase, simply because of our attachment to the old habits that used to put us in the low vibration. And so this is why the voices of the negative gatekeepers tends to be stronger than the voices of the positive gatekeepers. And so these positive influences will tend to point us to the right directions while we are doing our reflection of how to progress. You'll get some nuggets of insights or wisdom on how to transcend this. And when you apply them, then you find that you're crossing these barriers that are putting a blockade to your progress. And positive human gatekeepers as well could be the people who are guiding you and helping you on your spiritual path to overcome the difficulties, or the people who are praying for you, right? Depending on our spiritual makeup, some people's spiritual influences are very strong. For example, if they see that a negative influence is splitting a married couple, then simply by passing their positive prayers, it's able to break those barriers and keep away the enemy that is trying to split this couple. And so that is more like it about gatekeepers. You just need to identify different areas of your life where you are seeing some negative influence coming in to prevent your spiritual growth. Sometimes it could be even just that one person that you treasure the most. Maybe physically, they are more satisfying physically, but when you look deeply, both of you are not spiritually aligned. So sometimes they come with their negative influences and put seeds of corruption in your mind, which then make you to backslide in your spiritual progress. And so it's more like the efforts that you've been making all the time is going to waste. And so now it's up to you to identify how gatekeepers are manifesting in your life, especially spiritually. Identify the portals through which the enemy uses to block your progress and put a stop to it so that you are able to attain the goals that you want to achieve. And so that is it about gatekeepers. I have definitely left some things out, but I would love to know what you think. If you have any personal experiences, be sure to leave a comment there, and make sure to like, make sure to subscribe if you have not subscribed. And I hope to see you on my next video. Cheers and have a great time.